Have you ever wondered why some women are impossible to forget, even years after the relationship ends? Men may never say it out loud, but deep down they never stop thinking about that one woman, the one who left a mark on their soul, not just their heart. And the truth is, it's not about looks, money, or anything superficial. It's about something deeper, psychological. Today I'm pulling back the curtain on something most people never talk about: the 4 powerful rules that make men silently miss certain women, sometimes even more after the relationship is over. These are not the typical play hard to get tricks or tired cliches you've heard 1,000 times. These are backed by emotional psychology, and once you understand how they work, you'll never look at dating or relationships the same way again. Whether you're trying to spark new interest, reconnect with someone from your past, or just want to become unforgettable in the eyes of any man, what you're about to hear will give you the edge. Most women don't even know they're missing. So don't just watch, listen closely, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why men pull away from some women, but silently crave the ones who apply these 4 rules. Let's dive in. Let's start with the first and arguably the most powerful rule: self-respect. It sounds simple, but this one trait alone is often the reason men can't stop thinking about a woman even after she's gone. Because self-respect is more than confidence. It's about how you carry yourself, how you set boundaries, and how you communicate what you will and will not accept. And the truth is, men can feel it. They sense it instantly. See, most people are used to relationships where someone compromises too much, bends too far, or loses themselves trying to hold on to something. But when a man meets a woman who knows her worth, it's like a shock to the system. She doesn't chase, she doesn't beg, she doesn't tolerate disrespect. And if he pulls away, she doesn't panic. She pulls back too. That energy is rare, and that's exactly why it's unforgettable. A woman with self-respect isn't afraid to walk away, not because she doesn't care, but because she won't settle. And that mindset creates a kind of emotional gravity. It triggers something deep in a man, a curiosity, a sense of challenge, and most importantly, a level of respect he might not have even known he was capable of giving. It also forces him to reflect on his own behavior. If he crosses a line and she calmly, confidently steps back without drama, that moment sticks. It's not reactive, it's powerful. Because men don't miss the woman who tolerated everything just to keep him. They miss the one who had the strength to say, "I care about you, but I care about myself more." That's the woman who lives rent-free in his mind. And here's something subtle most don't realize: self-respect isn't loud. It's not aggressive or combative. It's often quiet, graceful, even soft-spoken, but it's firm. It's in the way she says no. It's in the way she doesn't need constant validation. It's how she doesn't explain herself to people who aren't trying to understand her. And ironically, that's what draws people, especially men, toward her. It creates an emotional mystery, a sense of value, and a feeling that being with her is a privilege, not a guarantee. Men may not articulate it, but they absolutely sense when a woman lives by this rule. Even if things end, the memory of that emotional standard lingers. And later, when he dates someone who lacks it, someone who overextends, tries too hard, or sacrifices their dignity, he can't help but compare. That contrast is what makes him realize what he lost. And that realization, that's when he starts to miss her. Because self-respect isn't just attractive, it's rare. And rare is what's remembered. So if you want to be the woman that he can't stop thinking about, don't try to convince him to value you. Show him by valuing yourself first. If rule number 1 is about knowing your worth, rule number 2 is about knowing when to show your heart and when not to. This is what I call strategic vulnerability. And it's one of the most misunderstood but deeply effective traits a woman can have. Most people think vulnerability means oversharing, emotionally unloading, or constantly expressing your feelings. But true vulnerability, when done strategically, isn't about giving everything. It's about giving the right things at the right time and to the right person. See, when a woman reveals just enough of herself, her fears, her dreams, her past pain, her emotional layers, but does it from a place of strength, not desperation, it creates a powerful emotional connection. She's not dumping her emotions hoping for attention. She's not using her wounds as a way to bond. She's letting him see her humanity without making him responsible for it. That distinction is huge. Strategic vulnerability says, I'm not perfect. I've been through things, but I've grown, I've healed, and I still believe in love. That energy. It's magnetic, because most men are used to emotional walls, passive aggression, or people who either reveal nothing or reveal too much. But when a woman shows just enough softness to be real, while still maintaining her boundaries, she becomes unforgettable. It invites a man into her world, without making him feel like he's walking into chaos. And this balance, this emotional intelligence, is rare. It builds trust, it shows maturity, and it triggers something deeper than attraction: emotional safety. That's what most men secretly crave but don't know how to ask for. When a woman expresses her truth calmly, like admitting, I've been hurt before, so I move a little slower now, or I value emotional honesty, even if it's uncomfortable, it invites a man to open up too. It creates a space where connection can actually grow. But here's the key: she's not using vulnerability to get him to feel something. She's simply being real, without apology, but also without pressure, and that's what makes the difference. Men don't miss the woman who is emotionally chaotic or constantly overwhelmed. They miss the one who let them in just enough to feel trusted, but not so much that she lost herself in the process. Strategic vulnerability is subtle, but it's unforgettable. Because when he's with someone else who's emotionally closed off or overly reactive, he'll remember how calm, grounded, and open you were. He'll miss how you made emotional intimacy feel safe, not demanding. So if you want to be the woman that lingers in his mind, don't hide your heart, but don't hand it over all at once either. Let him earn your softness. Let him see the strength behind your emotions. That balance is what keeps you unforgettable. If there's one thing that separates a woman who's just a fleeting memory from one who lingers in a man's mind long after she's gone, it's emotional independence. This doesn't mean being cold, detached, or pretending you don't need anyone. Emotional independence is about one powerful truth: you are complete, with or without him. Most people are used to relationships where emotions are outsourced. One person leans too hard, expects the other to fill their voids, fix their moods, or be the constant source of their happiness. And in the beginning, that might feel like love, but to a man, it eventually becomes pressure. Silent, subtle pressure that pushes him away without even knowing why. But when a woman radiates emotional independence, it changes everything. She doesn't look to a man to fix her bad days. She knows how to self-soothe. She has her own passions, her own goals, her own inner world. She's emotionally available, but not emotionally dependent. That's a key difference. She's open to love, but her life doesn't fall apart without it. And believe it or not, this is deeply attractive to emotionally mature men, because they don't want to feel like they're responsible for holding your world together. They want to be part of your life, not the foundation of it. Now here's where it gets powerful. Emotional independence doesn't mean you never show emotion. It means your emotions don't control your identity. You can be sad without being needy. You can be vulnerable without being unstable. You can have hard days without expecting someone else to carry the weight for you. That kind of self-awareness is magnetic. It tells a man, I want you, but I don't need you to feel whole. And that energy, it creates respect. It builds desire. It makes you a woman who challenges him to rise emotionally too. Because emotional independence is freedom, not just for you, but for him too. It means he can have space without you spiraling. It means if there's a conflict, you don't turn it into a crisis. It means you trust yourself to handle whatever happens. That's the kind of woman a man thinks about when he's with someone else who panics at every small misunderstanding, who constantly seeks reassurance, or who can't stand on her own when things get tough. The emotionally independent woman, on the other hand, creates peace. She doesn't need constant validation, but she still values connection. She doesn't demand attention, but she knows her worth when it's freely given. And if she's not getting the energy she deserves, she doesn't argue. She adjusts her access. That silence, that distance, that's what makes men realize what they had. And later, that's what they miss. Because when you're emotionally independent, you become irreplaceable, not because of how much you gave, but because of how grounded and calm you remained, even when things weren't perfect. You become the one who stood out, not by trying harder, but by needing less. And that kind of emotional strength doesn't fade, it echoes. So if you want to leave a lasting impact on a man, the kind that stays with him long after the texts stop, long after the calls end, focus on building your emotional world, learn to meet your own needs first, and let any love that comes into your life be a bonus, not your lifeline. Because the truth is, men don't forget the woman who didn't chase them. They remember the one who chose herself, and still had room for love. If you've ever wondered why some women seem to live rent-free in a man's mind, even after just a few dates, it's often because of this final rule, the mystery effect. Mystery isn't about playing games or being deliberately confusing. It's about leaving space, emotional space, mental space, and energetic space that invites curiosity instead of constantly feeding information. When a woman embodies mystery, she doesn't show all her cards at once. She doesn't rush to explain every detail about herself or overshare her whole life story within the first few conversations. She reveals herself in layers, slowly and intentionally, like a novel that keeps getting better with every page. And that's exactly why men can't stop thinking about her. You see, when you're mysterious in the right way, you give a man the chance to wonder about you, to think about you, to reflect on what you said or didn't say. Most people try so hard to be understood immediately that they forget the power of not being fully known. But mystery creates space for emotional investment. It allows a man's imagination to work in your favor. Here's the truth. When you leave something to be discovered, you naturally become more valuable. Humans are wired to chase meaning, to fill in the blanks. If you give someone everything up front, there's no more story to follow, no more chase, no more depth to uncover. But if you hold just a little back, with grace, not coldness, you create anticipation, and that anticipation creates attachment. The mystery effect also means being unpredictable in a feminine magnetic way, not in your character, but in your energy. You don't always text first. You don't always explain why you're unavailable. Sometimes you're fully present and engaging, and other times you're simply living your life, unbothered and in your own flow. That unpredictability, when paired with warmth and kindness, becomes addicting. It sends the message, you don't have full access to me unless you've earned it. And that's powerful, because most men are used to women who overshare too soon, who move too fast, who mistake connection for immediate emotional exposure. But when he meets a woman who is genuine, warm and slightly enigmatic, it's unforgettable. He finds himself thinking, who is she, really? What's her story? What's going on in that mind of hers? That curiosity drives deeper emotional engagement than any love confession ever could. And the more emotionally involved he becomes, the more he begins to miss her presence, even when she's not around. Mystery also means having your own life, goals, routines, passions, and not needing to constantly post or share every move you make. A mysterious woman moves with quiet confidence. She doesn't seek attention. She attracts it by the way she moves in silence and leaves a trail of thought behind her. Later, when a man is with someone who overshares, over-explains, or constantly seeks reassurance, he starts remembering the woman who was still kind, still emotionally available, but never fully graspable. And that's what lingers. Mystery isn't about creating distance for the sake of it. It's about not being so easily accessed. It's not about coldness. It's about elegance. It's about understanding your presence is a privilege, and it takes time to truly know you. That slow reveal, that quiet allure, is what makes a man miss you. Not just the moments you shared, but the ones he knows he never got to experience. The untold stories, the unexplored depths. That's the kind of woman he doesn't just remember, he obsesses over. Now that you've seen all 4 rules, let's go deeper. Because understanding what men miss is one thing, but understanding how these rules actually shift the male mind is where the real power lies. Here's what most people don't realize. Men and women are wired very differently when it comes to emotional processing, attraction, and attachment. While many women feel emotionally connected during the relationship, men often feel that connection after it's gone, when silence sets in, when absence replaces presence, and when the emotional patterns they once took for granted are no longer there. That's when these 4 rules start echoing in his mind. When a woman embodies self-respect, strategic vulnerability, emotional independence, and mystery, she doesn't just attract a man, she disorients him in the best possible way. Why? Because most men have never experienced all four in one woman. Let's break it down. Self-respect challenges his instinct to test boundaries. Without even saying a word, you communicate, "This is who I am, this is what I allow, and if you can't meet that, I'll walk," peacefully. That creates psychological tension, the good kind. He knows he has to earn his place with you, and that awareness naturally makes him more intentional with his words and actions. Strategic vulnerability, on the other hand, shifts his perception of emotional safety. Most men are not taught to open up, so when you do it in a balanced, grounded way, it triggers something in him that says, "She's safe, she gets it, I don't have to perform here." That kind of emotional experience is so rare for men that once they feel it, even just once, they crave it. And if they lose it, they miss it like a drug. Now let's talk about emotional independence. This flips a switch in his brain that says, "She's different." You're not clinging, chasing, or relying on him to regulate your emotions. That's not just attractive, it's disarming, because it shifts the relationship from "she needs me" to "she chooses me." And nothing lights up a man's ego and his heart more than being chosen by someone who doesn't need him to function. And then mystery, the most psychologically potent of all. Mystery keeps his mind working. It keeps his attention sharp and focused. When he doesn't have full access to you, when he doesn't know exactly how you feel all the time, or when you leave him guessing, in a feminine, grounded way, it keeps his emotional investment high. He replays your words, he analyzes your energy, he stays mentally engaged. And that mental engagement is the seed of emotional obsession. Now here's the real kicker. When you apply these four rules together, you create something rare, emotional contrast. You become the woman he compares everyone else to. The one who made him feel challenged, safe, captivated, and respected, all at once. That emotional cocktail is powerful. It's unforgettable. And when he starts dating someone new, who lacks that dynamic energy, it hits him. Slowly at first, then all at once. Suddenly the things he didn't fully value in the moment become crystal clear. Your silence becomes louder than your words ever were. Your absence starts teaching him things your presence never could. And that's when he starts to miss you. Not just the surface version of you, but who you were on a psychological level. That's how you shift male psychology. Not by trying to manipulate his feelings or control the outcome, but by being so grounded in your own energy, so emotionally self-sufficient, and so deeply aware of your value, that the impact you leave behind speaks louder than anything you could ever say. Now that we've walked through the four rules, self-respect, strategic vulnerability, emotional independence, and the mystery effect, let's talk about what to actually do with this insight. Because knowledge without application doesn't create results. It's not just about understanding why men miss certain women, it's about becoming that kind of woman in a real, grounded, authentic way. And here's the truth. You don't need to become someone else. You don't need to fake confidence, manipulate emotions, or pretend to be distant just to seem mysterious. What you need is to return to yourself, your power, your center, your standards. Start by asking yourself one powerful question. Am I showing up in relationships as someone who knows her value, or someone trying to prove it? Because when you're constantly proving, pleasing, or performing, you send the message, even unconsciously, that you don't believe you're enough. But when you stand in quiet confidence, when your actions match your worth without needing constant validation, that's when people, especially men, feel it. So here are your action steps. First, practice self-respect in small daily decisions. Set boundaries without guilt. Say no when you mean no. Choose your peace over someone else's comfort. These little choices tell the world and yourself that you honor your own worth. And the more consistently you do that, the more naturally you'll command respect from others without even trying. Second, get intentional with your vulnerability. Don't open up to gain sympathy or closeness. Open up when it adds depth, when it aligns with your truth, and when it invites connection without sacrificing your emotional safety. Vulnerability isn't about being raw with everyone. It's about being real with the right people at the right time. Third, cultivate emotional independence. Learn to self-regulate. Build routines, friendships, and hobbies that make you feel alive outside of any romantic connection. Your world should be full, whether love is present or not, When a man sees that you're emotionally grounded, not reactive, not clinging, he views you as an equal, not a responsibility, and that shift changes everything. And finally, embrace mystery, not by hiding who you are, but by giving people space to discover it. You don't need to explain every thought, every emotion, every plan. Let people earn deeper access to you over time. Not everyone deserves to know your whole story on page 1. Let your life unfold like a book worth reading, one chapter at a time. Now, you might be wondering, what if I've already broken these rules? What if I've been too available, too emotional, too open? Good news, you can reset at any time. Growth doesn't happen when you've been perfect. It happens when you notice the pattern and choose a different path. So if you've been in relationships where you lost yourself, overextended, or gave too much too soon, let this be the moment you shift. Quietly, powerfully, permanently. The kind of woman men miss isn't the one who chased, begged, or sacrificed her soul to be chosen. It's the one who chose herself first and let love rise to meet her. So as you leave this video, don't just reflect, act. Where can you reclaim your power today? Where can you soften without losing your standards? Where can you hold mystery without playing games? Small changes, big shifts, long-lasting impact. And remember this, when you apply these rules not as tactics but as a reflection of your truth, you won't just be unforgettable to men, you'll be unforgettable to yourself, because you are the prize.